What's up, guys? This is Boondocks, and I'm here to show the build that I'm currently using. And while it's probably not the best, it's overall what I'm enjoying at the time. And I'm sure there's a lot of room for improvement, but I'll just kind of show off what I'm doing for now. So the main focus of this build, as you might be able to tell, is lasers. So while Athena isn't the best at using laser weapons, as say Wilhelm, she does have a pretty nice affinity towards elemental damage. So because of that, I can use this build to increase her overall damage with the elemental lasers to do ridiculous amounts of damage. So, for starters, we have Cat of Nine Tails. Cat of Nine Tails is really cool because whenever you hit a wall, it'll actually split off into 9 separate components. At least I believe it's 9 because of Cat of Nine Tails, it would make sense. And each one of those kind of ricochets off at an angle equal and opposite to whatever you hit the wall with or floor. So you can use this to hit an enemy up to 9 times, and because it's not split up, each hit will do 802 damage. Now it's also a doll weapon, so if you're zoomed in, it's going to fire in a burst. So you might want to be careful about that. As you can see, the burn damage if you ignite an enemy is ridiculously high as well. Though the ignite chance isn't all that great, you can work around that pretty easily with Athena. Then my favorite weapon is the Thorny Old Rosie, or just Old Rosie. You get this automatically for completing the game. On True Vault Hunter mode, all you have to do is go talk to Jack, and he'll give you one. It'll be random, so you could get pretty much any type of element on it. As you can see, I have a corrosive, just in case I come across armor targets, and I have electric as well. Electric is one of my favorite elemental effects, though, so I usually focus on that. I additionally have the Miss Moxie's Vibra Pulse. This is similar to the Old Rosie, except as you can see, the Old Rosie has a 518% continuous damage bonus, which is ridiculous amounts of damage. And because of that, if you just press and hold and keep hitting an enemy, they'll die pretty damn quick. Miss Moxie doesn't have nearly as much damage output, but because it is a Moxie weapon, you can use it to heal yourself up against weaker targets when you're not taking too much damage. As for my other equipment, I'll start with the grenade, since it's kind of a waste for now. I just have another electric weapon that spawns 6 child grenades, and it's transfusion, so it can heal you a little bit. Yeah, I really need a better grenade. I'm hoping to find something like a Storming Homefront at some point, because that would be amazing with this particular build. I then also have the Prismatic Bulwark, and the whole point behind this is the increased laser damage of 28.5%. So almost 30% increased damage from lasers with the Prismatic Bulwark. Additionally, the Prismatic Bulwark has pretty high overall shield capacity and a really low recharge delay. It can also absorb laser shots and add it to your ammo pool, or just resist them entirely. So overall, getting shot by lasers with the Prismatic Bulwark on, you don't have to worry about. You can get this from Zarpedon, I believe. I can't remember where to get Cat of Nine Tails, unfortunately, but Zarpedon has a higher chance of dropping the Prismatic Bulwark. The Eddie O2 kit, or Oz kit, I guess, once again, the reason we're taking this is due to laser damage. Another almost 30% increase in laser damage. It also has a decent amount of O2 capacity and air control. I don't really do that much slamming, to be honest, and I'm pretty certain that's something I need to work on, because there's a part of this build that could actually become stronger if I just learn to use it more. Finally, I use the Celestial Gladiator class mod purely because it gives me the most boost to stats. Aside from this, other class mods that are decent would be like the Raging Storm class mod to increase electrocute damage, and I might switch over to that at some point if I decide that the plus 40% would be amazing. The issue is the bonuses it gives you, not all that great. And I'll explain why, because if you notice, it has Flash Freeze and Storm Weaving on it, both of which I am less than interested in. So, as far as my build goes, it's a little spread out. As you can see, I've put a lot of points in my Phalanx tree, even though I focus mostly on elemental damage. So, the main reason this build is amazing is because of Maelstrom. Each time you do incinerary or shock damage to an enemy, you're going to gain a stack of Maelstrom. This includes damage over time ticks. Each stack gives you 0.4%. So for every 10 stacks you gain, you're going to do 10% or 4% more damage. But that means that if you can get to, say, 200 Maelstrom stacks, you're going to be doing 80% elemental damage, which gets pretty ridiculous pretty quick. The other one that you have to put points in just to move down the tree is Storm Weaving. Storm Weaving has, every time you swap over to another weapon, you gain 100% increase elemental effect chance, which is why increasing your elemental effect chance more with that one class mod, kind of pointless if it's already at 100%. Now, the 100% increase, I actually believe is just saying that you're going to double your element effect chance, not that it is 100%. So, with that in mind, the class mod could be worthwhile, because then I think it increases it up to like almost 300% effect chance, so 3 times as high a chance. Also, you have an increased fire rate of 30%, which is decent. Then I put 1 point in a Gathering Tempest, just to increase my mag size and reload speed. Because of my class mod, I'm able to get up to 6 out of 5, and if I were to max it out, your mag size goes up to 80% increased, and reload speed's at like 50. So to me, it's not really worth going all that high. I then put 4 points in a Conduit, just so that way I can regain some of my shields based on the Maelstrom stacks that I have whenever I electrocute an enemy, which is going to be pretty damn often. Then one of the more fun abilities in this tree is the Smite ability. While airborne, and that includes just like falling off a little tiny step, and if you shoot an enemy, you're going to smite them, doing a massive amount of incinerary and shock damage in one blast, and the damage is also increased dependent on the number of Maelstrom stacks you have. This ability is really powerful, so it is on a 12-second cooldown, and you need at least 10 Maelstrom stacks to use it. I then have Unrelenting. This one you can take some points out of, but I recommend using it all the same. The reason you want at least 1 point in here is that way, based on your Maelstrom stacks, whenever you kill an enemy, you're going to be able to swap from one weapon to the other quicker, therefore keeping your Storm Weaving up, and therefore being able to do more elemental effect damage, as well as feed into this ability called Elemental Barrage, where you gain an automatic 30% chance of firing a free shot, increased by 0.1% every time you, based off of your Maelstrom stack. So if you have 100 Maelstrom stacks, this would now be 40% chance of a free shot. Then you have Zeus's Rage. Whenever you throw your Aspis, wherever it hits, you're going to cause a electric storm that's also going to light people on fire. This will give you a ridiculous number of Maelstrom stacks, and it synergizes really nice with the Phalanx tree. We'll get to that after. I skipped Superconductor purely because I'm not totally sure how it works, whether it's going to have to be in melee or if it will count for getting shot. If it counts for getting shot, then I could see this as being very powerful, but not really my cup of tea right yet. As far as Overload goes, the reason I take this is so that way whenever I kill an enemy, I'll gain 20 stacks and therefore keep my Maelstrom stacks up really high. Because whenever you're not doing elemental damage, they're going to run off. If you wanted to prevent them from running off, you could take something called Flash Freeze. Now the only issue I have with Flash Freeze is the amount of time that it stays on, I believe, is only going to be 5 seconds. I haven't put any points into it ever, partly because I don't like freezing enemies, and I don't really see how it would be worthwhile because you can't gain Maelstrom stacks when it's on. So you'd have to build up a massive amount, freeze an enemy, and then go from there. I also don't take Hades Shackle. I can see this being extremely powerful. I'm just pretty poor at stunning or at slamming enemies, so I skip it. As far as my melee tree, I don't really know how to say that, is Xiphos? I'm not sure. I put 1 point in Gun Kata just to get a 18% increase in gun damage for only 1 point. Seems slightly worthwhile to me. And I put 1 point in Clarity of Purpose to once again gain 18% increase in health for 1 point. These can always be moved around elsewhere if you want to put them, say, in Conduit or Overload, or maybe even put one in the Hades Shackles and skip one of these guys. Then for my Phalanx tree, I skip Invictus because I'm not really going to be counting on the damage from Aspis to win me fights. Instead, I take Ephedos in order to be able to close the gap a little bit quicker on enemies and also increase my gun damage when I do close in on them. I take 1 point in to hold the line, just so that way I can run a gun a little bit longer when my Aspis is out. And I also put 4 points in Vanguard just as like a safety net. And that'll let you move down to Prismatic Aegis. Now, Prismatic Aegis is pretty cool. The reason I take it is just so that way if I'm taking elemental damage, I'll be able to turn around and spread that elemental damage with my Aspis, and therefore just feed more into my Maelstrom stacks. I put 1 point into Clear. Feel free to take this out if you're not going to be playing with other people. But to me, it's still worthwhile due to the 40% bonus damage while in Fight for Your Life in order to get back up, especially if you're like me and not using a rocket launcher. I then take United Front again as a safety net whenever I activate my Aspis. Damage will actually fuel your shields, and that's pretty cool. It also increases your overall shield capacity. Now, one that I'm not totally sure on is the Prepare for Glory. Whenever you take, you taunt enemies whenever you activate your Aspis, and then whenever you take damage, your enemies that are inflicting damage upon your Aspis, you can do more damage to them. For each stack of Prepare Your Glory, you gain 10% extra damage. Now, the main reason we came through the Phalanx tree is Wrath of the Goddess. Now, even though Wrath of the Goddess decreases your damage after an initial bounce, it bounces up to 4 targets. Now, the reason this is amazing is each time it does a bounce, you're going to create a new Zeus's Rage. And because of that, your Maelstrom stacks can go shooting through the roof. So, basically you have to come down and decide, do you want your Aspis to be used as a defensive means or as a combat means? So right here we're going to pull out the Aspis, run in, start pretty much just slagging people. And I have the strong weapon out, not that big of a deal. But as you can see, this guy's hitting me with a laser and it's not doing much of anything. Right there, I jumped from the air, and that was a smite damage. What you want to keep doing is switching between weapons relatively often, so that way you can keep your storm weaving up. Okay, well, that thing kind of messed me up, so I just popped my Aspis to regain some of my health. And just fly around, there's a quick smite. And as you can see, the whole combat just goes really fast. And now that I threw out my Aspis, I'm at 280, 300 Maelstrom stacks. So now if I were to get over to an enemy, it'll pretty much die instantly, like so. And again, these are level 51 enemies. So as you can see, because I'm not in combat right now, my Maelstrom stacks are dropping pretty quickly. And that's not the best by any means, but as soon as you get back in combat, you can once again just whip out your Aspis, chuck it at enemies in their face, and be good to go. I don't know why there's like no enemies spawning around here. It's kind of frustrating. There we go. Alright, so it's just going to be that one guy. So, just kind of switch, kill, switch, kill, and just kind of keep that whole motion going. The one issue with this build is the fact that it's a more close-range build with beam lasers. Railguns have like infinite range on them. Beam lasers, on the other hand, have a relatively close range. Plus, if you ever watch the, like right there, that was an armored target, and you're able to just tear them apart thanks to the continuous damage on this weapon. The main reason you want to keep rotating through, though, is, as you can see, I've already just spent about 400 of my laser. And that's even with swapping. I wasn't doing perfect swapping, but you will have to stop and look for laser ammo with this, which can be relatively annoying. And if people have watched some of my Borderlands 2 videos, they know how I feel about looking for ammo constantly. I usually wind up cheating, purely because I hate it so much. Okay, come on. Turret. See if I can get another smite off. Right there. So, after a quick smite, they are pretty much dead. And right like that, clear out the whole room. With the beam weapons, you don't really need to worry as much about your fire rate, per se, due to the fact that they're just going to be firing constantly anyway. So the fire rate from the storm weaving doesn't help, but it's really all about trying to keep your ammo count high. I'll show how that's the Cat of Nine Tails. As you can see, part of the reason why I've always liked electrical damage more is because it's going to melt shields, and it'll still do damage against armored targets. As you can see right here, I'm not doing any damage to this guy. But as soon as you switch over to this, and he's dead. So, that's part of the reason why I've always used electrical weapons, and I'll probably continue to use electrical weapons. As my primary source, anyway. It wasn't as necessary in Borderlands 2 because typically enemies had less shields and were either soft little fleshy dudes or armor targets, so either you wanted fire or corrosive damage. In this, I feel like more like Borderlands 1, where you're going to want shields stripping electric weapons more often. So, that's it for this build. And until next time, guys, good luck, have fun, peace. Let me toss this up real quick. Try to show it off just a little bit. Alright, peace.